Hi, Tim Carthen here, and today I'm going to speak to you about the systematic dismantling of the middle class in America. Oh, you thought it was accidental? Yeah, okay. Let me explain to you what's really going on here in America. Now, in order to do this, I have to take you way back. Back in the day, years ago, 70, 80 years ago, the marginal tax rate was like 90%. Now, by the time companies did what they needed to do in order to get breaks and all from that 90%, they were only paying like 50, 56%, something like that. What would they do to get the breaks? They would pay their employees more. They'd reinvest into their companies. That way they'd get tax breaks for all the money that they were making. And because of that, employees made more money, more tax revenues in the government federally, more tax revenues in the government locally. So everything was working. Better schools, roads, everything. Individuals could have one job in the family and they could pay for everything that the family need on top of vacations. No problem. Everything was great. Prices of things were low. Why? Because we had enough tax revenue to pay for everything we need, so we didn't need to borrow as much money. So what was the debt? 600 billion or something like that? We didn't need to borrow as much money. That's why candy bars, things like that were a nickel. Hotel rooms, you could stay in there for a quarter. Things like that. Everything was working fine. What happened was some genius, selfish genius, decided, hey, you know what? Business owner, by the way. Hey, you know what? We could keep more of our money if we could do that. Then that would be great. Well, how do we do that? Well, we keep more of our money if we get the tax rate lowered. So they started working on the tax rate. Got it all the way down to the 70s. Okay? So by the end of Jimmy Carter's term, I believe like 80, 82, somewhere in there, the marginal tax rate was 70% still. It's still in the 70s. But Jimmy Carter warned on a video, if I'm not mistaken, he warned on a video about these companies trying to take over the way they were trying to do things. I believe it was a video of him doing that, if I'm not mistaken. If I am, somebody can correct me. But he was telling people about that. And then when he got out and Reagan got in, cut the taxes down, I believe, like 36%. Now think about that. That's almost half. Now remember, when they were paying 90% marginal tax rate, after they gave the tax breaks and everything, they gave money to their employees, they reinvested money in their companies, they gave money to charities and the whole nine. They ended up paying like 50-something%. So they were able to cut their taxes down 30-something, 40%. Well, when they were paying almost 70%, it was the same thing. They were able to cut their taxes down probably to 40%, 38%, somewhere in there. What happens if you cut the taxes to 36%? And I don't mean cut it by you as a business getting tax breaks. I mean the actual marginal tax rate being 36%. Well, what happens is businesses can still pay a lower tax rate than what they were paying before. When they were paying you more money, they can pay you less and still pay a lower tax rate. Again, before they paid you more to pay a lower tax rate, but now since the tax rate after they gave you more money, they're paying a lower one than that and not giving you more money. What makes you think that they're going to give you something extra? They're not. Hence why the prices of stuff started going up. It was because we don't have enough tax money as a country to pay for things. So what did we have to do? We had to borrow money from other countries in order to pay for the things we need to do. Well, guess what? Now that debt that was 600 billion 70 years or 80 years or whatever ago, whatever it was, low, now it goes up 1 trillion, 2 trillion, 3 trillion, all the way to what now? 16 trillion? Well, the more debt that you have, the more dollars that you have out there, the less value the dollar is. For individuals who may not understand exactly how that works, the Mona Lisa, there's one Mona Lisa. And what's the price of it? It's priceless. It has no price. What happens if there were 40 Mona Lisas? Each one of those would probably be like $10 million. They'd have a price because there's 40 of them. So it lowered the value. So when you have all of those dollars out there, when you have all of those bonds that you sold in the whole night, when you have all of that out there, it lowers the value of the dollar. Hence why a candy bar that used to be a nickel is now $1.29. Used to be a nickel, but now it's $1.29. Because the debt, it used to be 600 billion or something, is now 16 trillion. Debt went up, value of our dollar went down, which means the cost of things went up. Debt went up, value of our dollar went down, which means the cost of things went up. It's not rocket science, okay? So, because of that, us being down to 36%, that's why individuals like Governor Mitt Romney only paid 13% in taxes. Because when it was 90%, he would have only paid like 50. But now it's 36%, he only paid 13. And because of that, they don't have to give you more money as an employee to pay, so you can pay for things because they don't need the tax break from it. They weren't giving you that money because they cared about you. They were giving you that money because the marginal tax rate was 90% back in the day and they needed to take some of the burden off themselves. Well, there is no burden when it's 36%. What's the burden? Tax rate is down, 54%? Less than what it used to be? They're not giving you anything. So now, the value of things, the value of the dollar's gone down, the cost of everything has gone up, yet you're making less money. Crazy, right? What's even worse is, productivity is still up. Yet they've cut payrolls, they've cut people's jobs. How is productivity still up, but it's only half the workforce? It's because they're making the people who stay there work harder. Hence why you notice now they have mandatory overtime. Know anybody who has mandatory overtime now? Yeah, exactly. This whole thing is systematic. This whole thing is systematic. You notice when President Obama got the taxes raised from 36% to 39%, just that 3%, look what it did to the economy. Look what it did to the economy, 3%. The actual debt of the country is still up there, but the debt dropped. The deficit rather dropped. Why? Because there was more tax revenue. This is not rocket science. Unfortunately, the wealthy people understand that if they tell you enough that taxes create jobs and your livelihood is a job, you're going to be okay with giving them your money, because that's what a tax cut pretty much is giving them your money. Oh, it's not? Last tax cut that happened, what did you get? $300-400? What did they get? $500,000? Now where did your $400 go? It went into the store down the street, or went into paying your rent, or it went into paying your lights or your gas or something like that. It went there immediately, gone, out your hand. But you were glad to have it. Ooh, gave you a little break. Where'd their $500,000 tax break go? To a money market account, 401k or something, some other investment. Their money doesn't go into the economy. Their money doesn't go directly into the economy like that. Which is why tax breaks, especially for the wealthy, don't work. They don't work. But why in the world would anybody who's going to get $500,000 extra back say to you that tax breaks don't work? They work for them getting $500,000, so they're not going to tell you they don't work. This is systematic. It's systematic. You have to understand. This is not some Democrat, Republican, Independent. This is not something. This is a systematic thing from the wealthy. Now, the wealthy overwhelmingly support the Republican Party. That's not an unknown thing. But it's about the wealthy and the poor. It's about the wealthy and the middle class. It's not about parties. These people understand that the less you have, the more control over you they have. They understand that. Back in the day, you didn't like the way your employer was treating you, what would you do? You quit and have a job that same day. Now, you're scared to leave because in Congress, they're trying to stop your unemployment insurance. So if you leave the job, you already don't have any savings because you don't get paid enough to have any savings. So if you leave the job, within a week to 2 weeks, you're in trouble. Not to mention, because they're giving you hell on your unemployment insurance, that might not come through at all. They're systematically setting it to where they have complete control of everything. And because our taxes are so low, we don't have the revenue to fix the roads, the bridges, to give the students in the schools what it is they need. We don't have it. However, the people in the wealthy neighborhoods, their municipalities, their cities, they don't have a problem. Because they make so much money that the revenue that they pay in taxes for their properties, which are worth a ton of money, their schools are fine. Until you understand the cause and effect of these things, you will never be able to get to the actual solution for them. Now I'm going to tell you something that Secretary Rice, in closing, Secretary Rice, who was the labor secretary under President Clinton, something that he said in his movie Inequality for All. And when he was saying that, I was just going crazy because I'm like, this is what I've been telling people. But he put it actually in a movie. He said, when Reagan cut the taxes down, he didn't say that the chain reaction of events, but the chain reaction of events ended up being less tax revenue meant that the government had to borrow more money, which made our debt higher, which lowered the value of our money, which made the cost of things go up. Once the cost of things went up, one person in the household was no longer able to sustain everything comfortably. Now, that's the research and all that I've done. So what he said was, because of that, okay, he didn't say because of that, but I'm saying this is because of that, this ties to what he was saying. The women started going to work. They didn't go to work because, like he said, it wasn't some glorious thing, whatever. They went to work because income needed to be supplemented. So now you have two people in the household working. But then, because again, the value of the dollar was so low because of the continued borrowing from the government, which raised the prices of goods and services, we had to start secondarily working more hours. So now it went from one person working in a household to two persons working in a household to each person working more hours. Again, trying to make enough money to combat these rising prices of goods because of the lowering of the value of the dollar, because of the rising of the debt, because of the lowering of the taxes by Reagan. Okay? That was the second thing that happened. The third and final thing that occurred was when that wasn't enough money, people said, I'm going to borrow money off of my home. You remember that. Borrow money off your home, the equity in your home, or the equity in your car, or the equity in whatever. You started taking money, borrow money. What happened with that? Everything failed. Everything completely crashed in 2008. The Great Recession. But guess what? There's nothing left. There is no other option for the poor middle class. The first option was both people in the household working. Both people in your household are working, right? Yeah. The second option was work more hours. You're working mandatory overtime now, right? Yeah, exactly. The third thing was what? Borrow off your homes and whatever. There's no more equity left in the homes or anything now. Everybody's all borrowed out, hence the Great Recession. What's the fourth one? Revolt. Revolt. People are tired. They're tired of their money being taken. They're tired of these companies treating them like they're not worth anything. They're tired of being stolen from, especially being stolen from and nobody's going to jail. What the country lost between 2006 and 2008, lost what, $16 trillion? And I always ask people, I said, please show me the space shuttle where that $16 trillion flew off into space. Oh wait, there was no space shuttle. Money didn't go off planet. Money went somewhere on the planet. So although Americans lost 16 trillion, that 16 trillion went somewhere. And it seems like the only person who's getting blamed for that 16 trillion is Bernie Madoff. And from what I'm understanding, he stole what, 80 billion over 25 years? What is that, like 3-something billion a year? What was 16 trillion missing? So if it's 80 billion gone, where's the other like 15 trillion 920 billion dollars? Where? This entire thing is systematic. They want to make sure that they control everything. And at this moment in time, they've done a good job of giving themselves virtually total control. The question is, what are we going to do about it?